With our overview, this has to do more with assessment and, when you have young children and they go in for an assessment, what we as speech and language pathologists are looking for when we assess your child, because we want to see what your child is doing and why they are doing that. There's 3 areas of the assessment. One is the speech articulation skills, which is what kinds of vowels and consonants your child is using when they are trying to say some words. We are also looking at oral motor skills, which go with the speech articulation skills and what they are doing with their mouths. Can they pucker their lips to kiss and to blow? We're interested to see if your child can wag their tongue back and forth. Can they lift their tongue up? Can they stick their tongue out? Can they smile big? We're looking at all these muscles that go along with the cheek movements, the lip movements, and your tongue movements. Exactly, my friend. I see you opening your mouth real big over there. And another sheet that you got to go along with the articulation part is this one right here. And this gives the different ages, ages 3 years, 4 years, 5, 6, and 7, which sounds should be developing during that particular age. So at age 3, a child should be using a w and a b and a p, which those are your lip sounds, the h and the and the n sounds. So those are the sounds, if you brought your child in to be evaluated, we would be listening for. They might be using other sounds too, and that's great. But we need to have those by age 3, at least emerging. And then it goes up with the more difficult sounds being developed as the child gets older. The most difficult sounds are the CH and the SH, which are ch and sh, and the j sound, and then that and the z. So that's giving you some kind of an idea of just the sounds and the ages they should be developing and mastered. We're also asking you questions medically, if your child sleeps well at night, if they snore, if they are mouth breathers, and we're watching to see if your child closes their mouth and breathes through their nose. Sometimes if you have a child who is snoring and whose mouth is always open, that's telling us that they might have enlarged tonsils or adenoids. And there's a reason then for that mouth breathing and snoring behavior that is a physical reason. If we try and address speech sounds that are affected by those behaviors without first trying to figure out the medical issues, our therapies will not be as successful. So we do want to be sure we've got the medical issues resolved first. We also are interested if your child has a lot of allergies or asthma, because those things too create a mouth breather. And when a child breathes through their mouths, their tongue is down and the muscles in the tongue do not develop, and they are not strong enough to make some of the consonant sounds. You also tend to have larger lips because the mouth is open and the muscles in the cheek do not develop properly because the mouth is always open. So you kind of have a hangdog look. And so we're looking for those kinds of physical features. We're also looking at a child's bite and if they have widely spaced teeth, because if they have widely spaced teeth, most likely they're pushing on those teeth with their tongue every time they swallow. And if you can imagine how many times a day you swallow and you're pushing on those teeth, in the end, the dentition, you're going to have a significant overbite, and that too creates different articulation problems. So that is the articulation aspect of an exam, and also the oral motor, how easily a child can make different oral motor movements. The next thing on our list here is the auditory processing. And many of the children that I work with, a lot of times do not process information that they hear completely. And they might hear the last 2 or 3 words that I say. And so I'm trying to ask different questions to make them listen. If they're a child that I know knows their colors, and I hold up a marker and I say, is this blue? And I'm really holding up a red marker. I want to know that they have heard exactly what I've said and that they can give me a yes or a no answer. Because that listening is really important. And a lot of times our kids confuse similar sounding words. So, well, for example, I was working with a little child today, and I was using the word small, and they thought that I was saying smart, because small and smart sounded enough similar that they thought it was the same word. Another word combination might be first and fast. They know what fast means, and they know what first means, but they confuse the two because they sound so much alike. So we're always looking to see how well the child is listening and how well they are processing what they hear. Receptive language skills, we're always looking, auditory memory. And some of our kids have great auditory memory, and they can echo back long sentences and long strings of words. Sometimes they don't know, though, what those mean. They don't know the meaning of the individual words. So with the echoing, they are almost learning language, and they're what we call Gestalt language learners, and they're learning large chunks. So if I say to my child, there's a big dog, they recognize the word dog, but they learn that as there's a big dog. So every time they see any dog, they are saying there's a big dog, because they've learned that chunk of information with the word dog. So they instead of learning one word at a time with learning names first, they're hearing so much and they're retaining it and learning these large chunks. So that's why we get echoing, and the brain is not processing the individual words. They're processing large chunks. I also, a lot of our children need us to talk at a slower rate so that they have a chance to hear things more carefully. And they also process where they need a minute to think about it before they can give us an answer. And I think that's one of the hardest things for us, because our world is, goes so fast. And so to ask a child a question and allow them enough time to process what you've said and then to figure out the answer, it oftentimes takes longer for them to respond. But a lot of times their responses are correct if we can just give them that extra time. Let's see. We also look at intonation. Do they have a flatter or a monotone voice? Do they sound kind of like little robots? Or do they have some intonation? I have a little boy now that when he asks a question, his word order is a statement, but he has the inflection of a question. So instead of saying, am I finished? He'll say, I am finished. So he's got the inflection there. And I know he's asking the question, but the word order is incorrect. So we're looking for that musicality in the voices and that inflection. And a lot of times our kids enjoy learning things through music because they like those inflection patterns and the musicality of speech. and language. Another thing would be the rate of speaking. And for those of you who have children who speak very fast, very rapid rate, I always feel like their minds are going very fast, and that fast rate is a byproduct of that. And it kind of lets us know how fast they're thinking and how fast their brains are moving. And it's hard for them to slow down. It's kind of going against everything that their brain is telling them to do. So that fast talking speaks volumes in terms of just the internal engine of our children. I think that sometimes our kids can feel threatened, and that makes them either shut down and not want to say much of anything, or it makes them talk to try and alleviate some of their anxiety when they are feeling uncomfortable. And so that's another reason why sometimes we can get real fast talkers going. I know at the St. Gerard House, they work a lot with breathing techniques with hopes that that will help the kids to relax and to learn to do some deep breathing. And that has some very nice results after a while. It takes the children time to learn those and to be able to actually access that deeper breathing, because it doesn't come naturally to them. But it does have nice results in terms of relaxing them. Another thing we look for and listen for is volume. Are they real loud talkers, or do they talk very quietly? That can tell us a little bit about their hearing levels. It also can tell us a little bit about what's a comfortable volume level to them. And also, when a child is going in fast forward and everything is fast, a lot of times everything is loud because their whole body is just in that escalated place. So everything is overdone. And a child will just be too loud. Let's see. There's a lot of different types of communication. And obviously, yeah, that's good. Obviously, expressive language skills are very important. And developmentally, most children will learn nouns first, the names of things, and then they will start to learn some verbs. So you will get daddy, you will get mommy, you will get ball, and then you will get daddy go or daddy bye-bye, throw ball, things like that. So that's a lot of times how our children will learn language, with the nouns first, then the verbs, and then color words, adjectives, and things like that. Many of our children use a pointing gesture. And if you say, "What do you want?" instead of saying the name of something, they will say that one, and they will point, and that the pointing will clarify what it is that they want. And it's because it's too hard for them they may have the actual word up in their brain, but it's hard to access it when they need it. And so it's much easier to just use a non-specific, "I want that one," or this one, or over there, instead of more specific words like under the table, or "I want the ball," things like that. Let's see. Gestures and signs also help many of our kids, and that is a form of communication too. And we try and use just about anything and everything that we can for the kids to be able to communicate with us, and to be comfortable and relaxed about it, rather than feeling pressure and frustration, because a lot of our kids do feel frustrated with expressive language. Let's see. On the last page, we're looking at this style, and you may see this with some of your kids as far as a telegraphic speech pattern, which is choppy and kind of computer-like. The rapid rate, which can be the fast thinker. Unintelligible speech, which has the oral motor issues. Sometimes incomplete sentences where they'll just use the main words to express themselves, and delayed responses. So basically, for a language evaluation and a speech evaluation, those are the things that we are looking for when we see your child. So that's the evaluation. What I've tried to do with some of these different handouts and things is to give you some ideas of things to do at home. In the bag, there are some different items to work on the word pop. So at home, if you were at home, you might have a Pop-Tart that you can put into your toaster. And when the toaster is done cooking it, it pops up, and that's when you say pop, and this is a Pop-Tart. So that's an occasion where you can kind of build that word in. It's a fun word. To watch the toaster pop things up is a fun activity, and something a lot of times the kids are interested in. Same with the popcorn. If you put it in the microwave and you can stand there and say pop, 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 it's good practice and it's a fun activity. Most of the kids like popcorn. The bubbles that are in that bag that I gave you, that's really good for popping and using that word. Lollipop is a pop. Mr. Bubble Bath has pops, and of course bubbles. So there's lots of different things if you're going to work on a word at home that you can find different items to use to help you do that. And I know with one of the handouts, there's a lot of early words. And, when my own children were learning the word Cheerios, they couldn't say Cheerios. And so we just used the word O's. And that's what I need. And so anytime they wanted Cheerios, they would say O's. So that just gave them an immediate, easy name for those. And then as time went on, we lengthened it to Cheerios. But I think that once the kids start using some words, they feel empowered, and that is a motivator for them to want to say more. But on this checklist, there's like, that's a good utterance. We say it all the time when spills happen or all sorts of things. Okay, huh? Those are all, they count as words when a child is learning a new vocabulary and developing their speech. So
you can find this resource in English and Spanish on the website. Again, if you go to St. George House Family Group Night, then it is right here under First Words Checklist. So if this is, I know we're throwing a lot of information at you,
yes.
But if you want to look at it later, this is a great thing to put on your fridge and kind of scale what words should I be working on, or what are some good words right now for my child. This isn't age appropriate, this is developmental appropriate.
Mm-hmm. So. And if you do not have a way to copy this stuff off, let us know, and we can get copies of all of this to you if you want. It's a lot of information. Another thing is the speech and language milestones, and it's for birth to 1 year, and then there's another page 1 to 2, and it lists a whole lot of different things that children do at different ages and stages. And again, it's to kind of create an awareness for you of things to be watching for and stimulating at the different ages. Another thing that is in here, if you have a child that is wanting to point and gesture all the time when they want something, there's communicative temptations. So that instead of having everything within easy reach of your child, and many of our kids would just as soon get things on their own and be independent rather than have to ask for it. But if you put things up higher so they have to ask you for it, that is just creating a good natural way for them to try and use some words for you or with you. Let's see, what else do we have here that's in this package? Yes, there's a calendar here that just gives a lot of different,
Sorry, guys, it's sideways.
that's okay, a lot of different ideas. Wash your child's face and talk about eyes, nose, and mouth. Waving hi to the mailman. Make a quick video of your child making noises and play it back for them. The kids love to hear their voices, you know, on your phones or your iPads or whatever. Talking to your child when they're getting dressed, things like that, and you're just naming the clothes. Today I was talking with one of the little boys about whether or not he was wearing long sleeves or short sleeves, and if he was wearing long pants or short pants. So it was a casual teaching time, and I was just feeding in that vocabulary and making him kind of think about what he had on. Did he have stripes on his shirt, or did he have you know, stars on his shirt? So I'm just, anytime I see the kids, I'm always talking to them about what they're wearing or what they're doing and things like that, just to keep the words going. There's also songs, and the songs, a lot of the kids in our program, they're singing these songs, and these are good for vocabulary. And I think you can get a lot of these on your iPad as well. So and they teach about animals and body parts and just all sorts of things. So song, and a lot of times our kids won't initiate that. Once they get started and they realize they like it, then they'll do it. But it's not anything that they won't show you the way necessarily on that, and just start doing one of these songs, start singing. But in this packet, there's songs, there's gestures, there's a variety of different little cards that are on here that, you know, give you some ideas of things to do for all sorts of easy skills for the kids. So strategies that you can use at home that you may not think of to use, but they're because they're so basic, but it really helps to establish a talking home and where words are used and words make activities better. So if you are talking out loud about what you are doing, and then you can stop and say, you know, mommy's sweeping the floor. What am I doing? Or what is this? This is a broom. And then pull them into that activity and see if they can help you a little bit. But just listening to you talk while you are doing things around the house oftentimes can teach them little things. And, you know, a lot of times we don't think that the kids are picking up on what we're saying, but they really do. So by calling attention to what you're doing and adding words to it will certainly help. And same with talking about what your child is doing, because that helps them think about it rather than just be doing something. They're thinking about what they're doing. And really, bottom line is we don't just want our kids to be talkers, because children can talk and they can be empty words. We want them to be thinkers in addition to talkers, so that well, for example, one of the things on this strategies, it says to give two choices. Let's see if I can write in here. Oh, okay. Give two choices. And if you say, do you want cookie or cake? And the child always says the second thing that you say, or the last thing that he's heard. And then he gets mad if you give him cake, because that's not really what he wanted. But he's saying the last word that you said to him, and he's not really thinking about his response. He's just kind of echoing something back to you. And so we're trying to create thinking so that a child cannot just be on automatic pilot and say the last thing that he has heard. And it's something that we have to train the kids to do, because if they can stay on automatic pilot, that's their preference. It's easier that way. But as they get older, it's less frustrating. So or it's more frustrating as they get older because they're not using the words that they really want to tell you their wants and needs. Sabotaging, which is next to the giving two choices, is another good one, so that you can set something up and need help and make them feel important by trying to help you. And talk about, does it take a washcloth to clean up a spill? Or can they pick something up off the floor for you? And where did that go? Did it go under the chair? Did it go under the table? But you're kind of talking them through while they're helping you fix something, that has happened. The out of reach is keeping things out of reach. So they do have to ask you. They do have to come to you to tell you something. I always think that using funny noises or facial expressions, or, if they are children who do not scare easily, doing things to kind of get their attention. A dad was telling me today that when he wants his son to repeat a word that he has said and he hasn't repeated it real clearly, he'll put it into a funny voice and make it's still the same word, but it sounds different to him, and it's just enough to grab his child's attention and make him want to repeat it. So he's mixed things up a little bit, and he has gotten his child's attention in a little bit different way, and it works. So that's another thing that let's see, that can help. Let's see, is this what I need? This,
Yeah.
there we go. Okay. I think too that this weight is so huge for our children, because we do need to pause and give them time to respond. And I can usually tell by the look on a child's face if they're thinking, because their eyes look around a little bit, and their pause there's a good reason for the pause, and you need to allow them that, give them that time, and see if they can come up with the right word. If they can't, then go ahead and give them a cue or give them the word to help. But building in that pause is one of the most difficult things to learn to do, but it's also really a necessary thing. But we don't want to frustrate the kids. So you kind of have to know when to step in. Most of my children are very visual, and a lot of times if I will ask them a question, well, like, what did you have for lunch today? They might not give me the specific answer of what they had for lunch, but they know I'm talking about food. And so they'll look all around to try and get see something in their environment that is a food where they can answer. So the kids, I find, do a lot of visual searching in their environment to help themselves answer questions. Let's see, what's another good one on here? Oh, well, today was the first day I have seen my children in person since COVID started. So it was a very interesting day because for most of them, the materials that I brought in today were totally new. They hadn't seen any of them because they were all hands-on materials that we did today. And when I was Zooming with them to do therapy in the past, I couldn't use hands-on materials with them. And so they were all so eager because everything was new and different. And every single one of them was just, wanting their hands on all of it. And they were really excited to use all these different materials. And some of these children, I have seen face-to-face maybe one or two times, if at all. There have been a couple of kids I haven't seen at all. So we sit and do puzzles a lot, and we talk about those puzzles. We talk about where the pieces are that we put, if it's a top piece or a bottom piece. We talk about the characters that are pictured on the puzzle, things like that. So any kind of activities that I can do with the kids, we are talking all the way through it. Another thing with strategies, I don't think it's listed on here, but I have a lot of little wind-up toys that I use, and the kids like those. But they can't do them by themselves because the fine motor of the twisting, they can't do that yet. So I twist one up, show them what it does, and they love it. And then the juice runs out and it's got to be twisted again in order to, you know, perform for them. And they can't get it to do that. So they automatically have to come to me and you know, tell me what they want. And so again, it's a good social overture because they want the toy badly enough to work that they are willing to come to me and let me start it for them. So that is really good too. It's kind of like if they want a bubble bath and the top on the bubbles is on too tight and they need your help to open those bubbles to pour them in the tub. So creating those social overtures for our kids, I think, is very, very important. And to, you know, bubbles, top off, open, you know, pour, I see bubbles. There's a whole vocabulary that you can talk through with them on something like that. Because our kids are so independent, they would much rather climb on the counters and get what they want than have to ask for it a lot of times. So I do like to create those opportunities where they have to ask. Any more questions?